Powered by Riverside FM.
The 2025 NFL Draft is over, and people have been reaching out to me wanting me to give the Minnesota Vikings a grade. And man, I don't know. I think it's too early. Sometimes those grades can be overrated. And I'm not into grading the Minnesota Vikings right now. I'm just not. I don't think it's a great thing to do. I think we got to give this thing time to evaluate. But I think on the surface, it was a great job by our Minnesota Vikings. When you look at their first-round pick, and you look at Donovan Jackson's impact for the Vikes, I mean, he can really solidify an already good offensive line. I mean, even if they hadn't picked Donovan Jackson up, I think the offensive line would have been good with Brendel. Now you bring in a guy that's obviously going to win the job, a guy that is, a little young, but obviously way more talented, and somebody that's just going to get the job done. You've got to have that fist. That means all five of the offensive linemen that can protect your most, valuable commodity in J.J. McCarthy. So I think the Minnesota Vikings had to make that move. After Donovan Jackson, I think for that position, I think it dropped off considerably. So when Kwesi had an opportunity to bring in Donovan Jackson in, I mean, man, it was a no-brainer. The pick of Tai Felton, wow, speed, agility. Tai Felton is one of those guys. I'm not saying that he's like a Stephon Diggs or anything like that, but he's definitely a guy that can fit into the passing scheme. He's got a lot of speed. He's got a lot of twitch to him. I think he's a better route runner than people give him credit for. Again, how much is too much to add to the Minnesota Vikings offense? When you're talking about bringing in a guy like J.J. McCarthy who's pretty accurate, I think Tai Felton's role on this team could be bigger and felt more in terms of an impact than a lot of people think. I think when you have an offensive mind like KOC, the way he can use a guy like Tai Felton, man, it's just going to be fun to watch. And I think a lot of people were surprised that the Minnesota Vikings went offense first with their first two picks. But I do think they addressed some areas. They addressed some issues on the defensive side of the ball, obviously, as well. Kobe King coming in to create a little bit of depth at that linebacker spot. If you watched Kwesi with Paul Allen, the question was asked, hey, why didn't you bring in a cornerback? Hey, why didn't you go get a safety? Those things just didn't present themselves. If the draft board doesn't present that, like, you're just not going to pick a corner or pick a safety just to pick a corner and pick a safety. Like, you want that player to be right for your football team. So, again, man, great job by Kwesi. Give him an extension, by the way, Vikings. Let's get that done. Late round gems, man, for me, Kobe King. I think Kobe King is a great pick. I think he's someone that the Minnesota Vikings coveted. As I said earlier, I think he's going to add a lot of depth. And I think he's going to be one of these hidden gem guys that I think he's going to have an opportunity to get into that rotation. Obviously, Brian Flores likes to rotate 17, 18 guys on defense. And I believe Kobe King, if he has a really good training camp, I think the guy could come in and possibly give us something his rookie year. Now, that's going to take a lot of work. That remains to be seen. But I think Kobe King can do that. Gavin Bartholomew as well. I think he can be a surprise contributor, that third tight end for the Minnesota Vikings. Again, KOC, man, I just have the utmost confidence. Like, he can plug in certain players into this scheme and really enhance it. I think he's been working behind the eight ball the last 3 years because just like B-Flow, he's got to have that roster turnover to be able to bring in his guys. And it's taken 3 years. I mean, the old Zimmer regime is slowly but surely getting transposed out of here. And so I think with KOC starting to bring in more of his guys that fit, I think he's wanted to run the ball a lot more in previous years, just didn't have the personnel to do it. Now he's going to have that personnel to do it. Offensive line, new running backs in the backfield with Aaron Jones. I think his running the game is going to be a lot better. So look for KOC. Look for that offense to look a lot better. I don't think it's going to have the dash and flash that it's always had, because they're going to pound the rock this year. Looking at what they did with that offensive line and who they chose to go after running back wise, this is not going to be a 60-40 split, I don't think, as it has been in the past. And I know that always depends on circumstances and stuff like that. I just think KOC is coming into next season wanting to run the ball. Max Brosmer was an interesting undrafted free agent acquisition. Local talent. He has a realistic pass. He has a realistic path, to be something that the Minnesota Vikings can develop. And I'm talking about in terms of backup. We all know that J.J. McCarthy is our future franchise quarterback. But Max Brosmer eventually, with the talent that he has, possibly could be a backup for J.J. McCarthy. Not next year. That's what we got Sam Howell for. But in the future, I just think this kid can really develop into something that's really good. Salas Boland's versatility, man, his skills as a return specialist, a receiver, just adds depth to the Minnesota Vikings special teams. You're always looking for those special team guys. And I think Salas Bolden is that guy. Some defensive additions that I think the Minnesota Vikings did a really good job of bringing in. Players like Tyler Batty, Chaz Chamberlains, they have an opportunity to make this team and contribute to the Vikings in some way next year. How about the NFC North comparison? The Bears offensive boost with the addition of Colston Loveland. That's a significant pick for the Chicago Bears. It gives Caleb Williams that insurance policy across the middle. I think most really, really good offensive teams need that tight end. You don't have that insurance policy. You don't have that tight end. Your offense is just not as good. I mean, look at the formula. Look at the teams that have succeeded previously. All have had really good pass-catching tight ends that can block, tight ends that you can hide in the pass blocking scheme and then have those guys filter out. I think that's going to help Caleb Williams. The Green Bay Packers drafting 2 wide receivers, Matthew Golden and Savion Williams. Will it actually strengthen their aerial attack? Was this just a PR campaign because the draft was in Green Bay to draft wide receivers because they hadn't taken a wide receiver in the draft in forever? So I think it's going to be really interesting to watch Green Bay Packers. Is Jordan Love that good? It's going to be interesting to watch. Lions defensive line reinforcements, man, Talik Williams from Ohio State. The Ohio State University really bolsters that already tough Lions defense and that defensive line. The Detroit Lions aren't going anywhere. The Detroit Lions are not going anywhere. But it's going to be interesting to see with their 2 coordinators leaving for greener pastures, how it affects that team. I think it affects that team a lot. The Minnesota Vikings possibly will be playing overseas. The NFL is set to release the 2025 schedule on May 14th, and the rumors are that the Vikings will be playing overseas. Who they will be playing, I have no idea, but look for that. Which games are you fans most anticipating for next year for the Minnesota Vikings, UP Nation? I'm looking forward to that Seattle game when it's Sam Darnold versus J.J. McCarthy. Man, that is going to be fun, and that is going to be box office. What game are you looking forward to? So I know a lot of people wanted me to talk about grades for the draft. I'm not really going to do that. CBS gave them an A. USA Today said that they had the 3rd worst draft in the NFL. Pro Football Focus was a little bit more enthusiastic with a C- for the Minnesota Vikings grade. I just don't know how you could put a grade on that thing right now. Just got to see how things work out. I think with the amount of picks that the Minnesota Vikings had, I thought it was a great draft by Kwesi, Adofo-Mensah. One thing that we're going to do before we get out of here that I wanted to mention, it's almost the 1-year anniversary for Unconventional Playbook. So what are we going to do? I am going to honor some of the people that have just been great commenters over the past year that's given us a lot of nuggets for this show. We haven't always disagreed, but you always come with great thoughts, great debate topics. I think you challenge me as a podcast host. So I just want to reward those people who are constant contributors. We're going to be putting names. We're going to be announcing names over the next 4 to 5 episodes of people whose names are going to be etched on the plate somewhere on this screen. It could be down there by the Minnesota Vikings. It could be down there by the Skull. It could be up there by the by the UP Nation. Your name will appear somewhere on this plate, and we're going to make announcements over the next 4 or 5 episodes of people that have just been great contributors to Unconventional Playbook over the last year. So that's how we're going to celebrate that, and your handle will be on there as long as Unconventional Playbook is going strong and existing. So thank everyone from the bottom of my heart for just supporting the UP. It's been fun. I love interacting with you guys, and this has always been kind of my dream to be able to do something like this on YouTube. So thanks a lot for a great year of support. This has been Unconventional Playbook, and we will make sure to see you when we see you.